All right, let's jump right in. Today we're diving into a really cool framework called Ouroboros Astrology. The big idea here, it completely flips the script on your birth chart, seeing it not as some fixed destiny, but as a dynamic system you can actually learn to work with.
So we have to start with the biggest question of them all, right? Free will or fate? Are we just playing out a script that's already been written, or are we in charge? Well, this way of looking at things suggests the answer isn't so black and white.
And here is the absolute core of it. The traditional way of thinking often treats your horoscope like a prison sentence, something you're stuck with. But the Ouroboros view, it says your fate isn't a sentence. It's a syntax. It's a language. And if it's a language, well, that means you can learn how to speak it. You can learn how to write with it.
So, how does this all work? To really get it, we first have to wrap our heads around the central metaphor of this entire system, the cosmic feedback loop.
You know that ancient symbol of the snake eating its own tail? That's the Ouroboros, and it's the perfect symbol for what we're talking about, a closed system. It means that nothing you do, nothing you put out into the world just disappears. Every single output loops back around and becomes the next input you have to deal with. And this quote from the source material just nails it. We're so used to thinking of life as a straight line, from A to B. But this framework says, nope, that's not it at all. Your life, your chart, it's a recursive circuit. The past is always feeding the present is creating the future, and that future is going to become the past that feeds the loop all over again. We can actually break this loop down into 4 really simple steps. Step 1, you have an experience. That's your input. Step 2, your personal wiring, your chart, processes that experience. Step 3, you react. You do something. That's your output. And here's the kicker. Step 4, that output changes the world around you and becomes the next input that comes right back at you. And the loop just keeps on going. Okay, so if your chart is a system, then what are all the moving parts? Well, this is another huge shift in thinking. We're asked to forget the idea of planets as mythical gods and start thinking of them as functional components inside a machine, your machine. So basically, each planet gets a job description. You've got your engines of identity, like the Sun and Mars, that give you your drive. Then there are the interface modules, the Moon and Venus, which handle your connections to everything. You've got the scaffolding of reality, Jupiter and Saturn, giving your life structure. And finally, the agents of change, Mercury, Rahu, and Ketu, that manage information and push you to evolve. Now, all these parts operate according to 4 fundamental drives, or let's call them the 4 pillars of reality. There's unity, that's your sun, the drive to be a whole person. There's balance, that's Venus, the drive for harmony and connection. There's symmetry, which is Saturn's territory, the drive for order and structure. And then there's paradox. This is the good stuff. This is the creative friction, the tension, driven by planets like Mars and Rahu, that actually forces you to grow. Every single chart is just a unique blend of these 4 forces.
Okay, so we have a system, and we have its parts, but how does this system actually move through time? Well, just like everything else in this model, time isn't a straight line either.
I absolutely love this quote from the source. Time isn't just a clock ticking away. It's a digestive tract. Think about that. You're constantly taking in experiences, metabolizing them, digesting the past to get the nutrients you need to build the future. It's such a powerful way to look at it. The main tool used to map this whole process comes from Vedic astrology, and it's called the Vimshattari Dasha. Now, don't worry about the complex name. Just think of it like the internal algorithm of your life, the source code that determines which chapter of your story you're in. And this sequence, it tells a universal story. For instance, you don't just get to the wisdom and expansion of a Jupiter period out of nowhere. You have to pass through the chaos and worldly ambition of the Rahu period right before it. You have to digest the chaos to earn the wisdom. Each stage is like a level in the game of life, and you can't just skip ahead. So, if that Dasha system is your internal clock, what about all the planets moving around in the sky right now? Well, those are the transits, and the best way to think of them is as the external weather. A big event happens in your life when the external weather, a major transit, interacts with your internal clock at just the right moment. Which brings us to the real payoff of all this. If we can understand the system, the parts, and the timing, can we actually do something with it? Can we hack it? And this framework says, absolutely. This is all about moving from being a victim of your circumstances to a co-creator of your reality. This totally reframes our idea of good and bad in a chart. You see, the challenging angles between planets, the so-called hard aspects, they aren't curses. They are the source of creative friction. They are the engine of your growth. The easy aspects, your natural talents, they're great, sure, but they're circuits of flow. They don't generate the heat you need to actually evolve. Let's just focus on this number, 90 degrees. The square aspect. This is pure friction. And the source material is crystal clear here. A chart without squares is a chart without an engine. It might be a peaceful life, but it's a stagnant one. The challenge is, that's where the power is.
So what about traditional things like mantras or wearing certain gemstones? This framework cuts right through the superstition. It calls them systemic interventions. They aren't magic spells you cast, they're conscious choices you make to intentionally tweak your own feedback loop. Maybe to boost a signal that's too quiet or turn down one that's too loud. It's less like praying and more like being the engineer of your own system.
And all of this leads to this incredible breakthrough moment. A moment the source calls the radiant chump. It's that click in your brain when you finally stop running from your biggest problem and you turn around and you see it not as something that's there to destroy you, but as something that's there to feed you, as fuel. It's you, as the serpent, consciously choosing to bite your own tail, to consume your challenges and your past to power your future.
So we end right where we began, with that same question. But now, maybe we see it differently. By seeing your life as a system you can influence. By understanding your own parts, by seeing your challenges as fuel, the whole game changes. So, what would you write if you finally knew you were the one holding the pen?